everyone, welcome to the Poskin podcast. This is the host Ash. Last time I spoke to him, he had just finished Cocodona, 250 brutal miles, quads blown early, deep lows, still top 10. But I remembered the hunger. He wasn't satisfied. He wanted more. Now I'm talking to him after he podiumed and won the Gobi 240. 400 kilometers in the desert, self navigated, self supported, no crew, no pacers, just him, a GPS watch, and endless flat terrain that gives you zero excuses to stop running. Cocodona tested his toughness. Gobi tested his independence. Getting lost in the middle of the night, yelling at his watch, climbing fences, carrying 7 kilos on his back, walking the final stretches on erect shins, and still finishing first. This episode isn't about a win, it's about growth. It's about learning how to suffer smarter. Last time he was chasing something. This time, he proved he belonged at the front. So let's get right into it. And please let me introduce your guest today. Here is Cody. Hey Cody, welcome back to the podcast. Last time we had this chat, you were freshly off Cocodona, and now you are freshly off winning Gobi 240. Welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm excited to be back.
How about you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good. It's been a little bit under a month since I've finished Gobi, and I have recovered really well. There was about a week or two where I was hobbling around a little bit like normal, but after that, I went back to running and walking and just taking it easy, and my legs feel almost completely normal now. So I'm excited to get back into the swing of training and figure out what's next. So yeah, I feel really good. No complaints, no injuries, no nothing. So all's well.
And we were just talking about right before the podcast started that you just did a triathlon as well. So you are venturing into different things.
Yeah, so a little bit like 2 days ago, I did an Ironman triathlon. So just because it sounded cool, my friend wanted me to do one with him. So I was like, okay. And I signed up for that before I knew I would be running Gobi. So I was like, well, I already paid for this. I'm going to do it anyway. So I just did it and still feel pretty good. So yeah, no complaints at all. Things have been good. The body's been good to me. I get away with a lot more than I should probably, and I'll take it while I can.
If I remember correctly, right? So last time we talked about when you just freshly came off Cocodona and we had this conversation, like you said, you want to go back to Cocodona and win it. But then here you are winning Gobi. Is that a similar feeling? Winning Cocodona versus winning Gobi 240?
I think it's similar but different. This race, Gobi was not as competitive of an arena as Cocodona, and it didn't mean it meant a lot. Like it's really special. I didn't know it would mean that much going in, but now that I finished, it meant a lot. But I think Cocodona still holds a really special spot, more in a competitive part of my body rather than like Gobi holds a really special spot and like an experience and a really cool trip spot. Cocodona is like I want to win because I want to compete against the best and go out there and throw down. So it's different parts, but they both mean a lot.
I think I remember when we were talking about on the DM, and I think I saw in on one of your posts, you said, "Hey, you might go to Gobi." So, how did this all came about? Like, how did you sign up for Gobi?
Yeah, it was right after Cocodona. They the race organizers just reached out to me on Instagram, and I guess they were watching Cocodona, and they were like, "Hey, we saw you're on Cocodona. Any chance you want to come to China in October to run our 400-kilometer race? We'll comp your entry fee. You just have to get over here." And I was like, I mean, I put it in Google, calculated what 400 kilometers was in miles just to make sure that I was capable of covering that distance. I was like, okay, that's 250 miles. I just did that. Sure. Yeah. Sounds like a great experience. Like, who says no to essentially a paid for trip to China and getting to do the things I like to do anyway, running, exploring. And it just kind of all fell into place from there. So I didn't even know Gobi existed before they reached out. I'd never heard of it. And it all fell into place. And I'm so glad it did because it was an amazing experience.
Yeah, I mean, paid for trip is always a bonus, right? And then going there,
Yeah.
seeing the new culture. Obviously, it's a different place, a different environment,
Yeah.
different than Cocodona, and it's a desert run. So,
Yeah. I went there about a week and a half early and just got to spend some time in some cities and really experience the culture. And it was it was really special. The Chinese people are amazing. They're so friendly and welcoming, and I would go back in a heartbeat. It was amazing.
And like you said, a lot of people don't know about Gobi. I mean, I only heard it after you finished it. It's like, okay, there is Gobi, right? So we are so there are so many things in the world we don't know a lot about it. So can you
Yeah.
give us an idea? How was it? How was the experience? Like when you chose the line, and how as you ran through the terrain, how was the heat? It's a desert race, it's different, and how was like
Yeah.
all the atmosphere in the race?
So most of the experience came from outside of the actual time I was racing, just before and after the race. The race organizers were amazing. They made sure I had everything I needed. And then the really special part was like for 2 days before the race, we got to live together at the compound, for lack of a better word. We all had our own little tents. And it's unlike any other race because you got to interact with these people for days before the race. You got to really meet them. I felt like I knew everybody I was racing with, and we formed such great like relationships even before the race. So that was super special. And then during the race, it was incredible. We started at night, which was odd. We started at 9:30 p.m. So with a race of this distance, sleep's already a factor, and then we have to start at night. Kind of throws another wrench in it. So that was something I didn't go in with a sleep plan because there's no point. Just sleep when you get tired, I guess. So that was interesting, but right from the gun, I just started running what felt like a pretty easy conservative pace and just found myself in the lead in the first like quarter mile. I didn't intend for that to happen. It just kind of the way it shook out and just kept running what felt like an easy pace and an easy pace and an easy pace. And throughout the race, ended up just developing quite a bit of a gap. But I mean, so the race it's different than normal. It's self navigated, self supported. So as long as you hit the checkpoints in the correct order, there was 37 checkpoints and 10 of them were the large ones. The other ones were just water. As long as you hit the checkpoints in the correct order, you can take whatever path you wanted in between the checkpoints. You can take a straight line, you can go left, right, around this river, over this mountain, through the mountain if you want to dig, I guess. Like there's so many options. So that was interesting. That was ended up being a pretty big, challenging portion of the race because my navigational skills, especially on night 3 when I was sleep deprived and it was the middle of the night, I was making some poor navigational decisions. So that was one aspect of the race. And then self supported, it wasn't like most of these races where you roll into an aid station and they're grilling burgers or cooking bacon or anything like that. There was no crew, and the only aid that you had was water from the aid stations. And then there was 10 aid stations about 20 miles apart on average that you got your box. So basically a drop bag essentially is what you packed. You packed 10 large drop bags and you would roll into the aid station. They would give you some water. They'd give you your box, and they would let you be. I mean, they were very helpful. I ended up getting massages at some of these aid stations, and they took very good care of me while I was there. You could tell the volunteers were amazing people, and that was another really special part of the race is we got to see the volunteers at check-in, and they were the same volunteers who were at the aid stations. And then when the race was over, one by one, they would file in as their aid station closed. They would come back to that compound and we would see them again at the finish, and they would see us before the race, during the race, and after the race. And just seeing those same people and then them seeing us go through this whole journey, I formed some really great bonds with some of the volunteers as well. So, but yeah, I just kind of kept running, and the terrain was very, very runnable. There was only about 3 to 4,000 meters of gain over the whole 400 kilometers, so basically dead flat. It was all consolidated into one climb, which was in the first 50K, which we did in the dark. So you didn't even really feel it. So, and you're fresh at the beginning. So the rest of it was all pretty flat, runnable. A lot of it was just on raw desert, no trails, no track, no road. You're just cutting a straight line across empty, barren land, it was different. It was unique. And I learned pretty quickly how hard it was to run in a straight line, especially you think the desert's pretty featureless, but you get out there and there's just little tiny washes from, I guess, little rains they had, just cutting little paths through the desert, and then little vegetation here and there, always making you kind of zigzag. And it's really tough to run in a straight line for 10, 15, 20 kilometers at a time. So that was an interesting hurdle. But yeah, the terrain was really runnable. It was kind of like hard packed gravel most of the time. There were sections that were a little sandy or maybe a little soft that were difficult to run in, but most of the time it was pretty runnable. And besides that first mountain climb, there wasn't anything super interesting feature wise on the course. It was all pretty well flat and open. The coolest thing we did was run directly under a field of thousands of wind turbines. I was running so close to them, I could reach out and touch them, and just seeing all the red lights blink at night was pretty interesting. And just you could feel the power coming. Like they're massive. You don't get a real perception of how big they are until you're directly underneath them, and they were huge. But yeah, and then I just kept clipping the miles off, and things felt really, really good until about the last 25K. And then my shins blew up and I had to walk it in. But I had enough of a lead at that point where it didn't matter. And I still finished in first and then stayed at that camp. You got to cheer and all my other runner friends who I'd made beforehand as they came in. And it was an incredible experience. I'm still really unpacking everything. And I know that it's going to be something I hold special and dear to me for forever. And hopefully someday I get to go back.
Yeah, like from the way you were describing, it is so different than Cocodona because so Cocodona has so much of word, but 4,000 is
Yeah.
nothing compared to
It was so
what you
flat.
went to Cocodona, right?
Yeah, especially since it was all in that first 50K. After that first 50K, we had less than 1,000 feet of vert for the next 350K. Like, it was just, which is, it sounds great in principle, but then you're getting there, and sometimes you want the hill just to give you something to break up the terrain and maybe give you an excuse to hike for a while. And when it's that flat, you have no excuse not to run, and it's mentally draining.
And what did you do? Because like you just explained, Cocodona it's so much easier, right? Because like you said, if there is a big vert, then you can walk the mountains. You can take a breather, you can rest, you can recover. But if it is a flat course, then how did you manage this? Did you just walk on some of the spaces that you needed to, or you just kept running the whole way?
I definitely did not run the whole way. I tried to convince myself to run pretty well the entire first 100 miles, which I did mostly. I did a little bit of walking, but I'd say that first 100 miles, 160K, I was running pretty well. And then as things started to get more and more fatigued going into that second night, second day, all that other stuff, I I physically could have ran the whole time. It just you get so mentally I don't even know how to describe it. Like just the draw to walk, to take a break is so overwhelming. I would when I finally caved, I would walk, but I would only let myself walk for 100 strides. So I would count 100 steps, and then I would make myself run again until that sense of walking was overwhelming again. And then I would walk, but I'd only let myself walk for 100 strides. And I did that pretty consistently. There was only a handful of times where I would let myself walk more than 100 steps. And then I pretty much did that all the way until the last 25K or so when my shins blew up and I just walked it in the whole way, all the last 25K, which was excruciating because you're so close to the end, but then you're walking so slow and you're calculating in your head, like, oh, I'm going to be out here for another 5 hours walking. Like, this is brutal, but it is what it is. It's all part of the journey.
How was your preparation? Because when you train for Cocodona, then you pretty much have to run for against the world because that's major part of it. But when you are training for this flat race, like what did you do before?
So I am not coached by anybody, and I don't really follow a strict training plan just because I probably will eventually. It's just worked better for me in my life right now to just have a really loose schedule and kind of do what I want. And living where I live, I don't have great access to trails, so I do a lot of my miles on roads. And it's just, quite frankly, it's easier just to do easy runs all the time. I hardly do any workouts, no tempos, no track workouts. So I was just pretty well just doing a whole lot of easy running all summer between Cocodona and Gobi. There was a handful of workouts in there, but just averaging probably somewhere between 70 and 90 miles a week on average. Just getting out and some usually in doubles, two runs a day, just very unstructured. So I put in a lot of good miles. Like I had the volume was there. It wasn't extreme like some of these people do, over 100, 120 miles a week. I wasn't there. But for me, 70, 80, 90 miles a week is very sustainable. And very important part of that equation is staying injury free, and I think that's a good spot for me to stay injury free. So I did a lot of recovery, a lot of rolling out, and just ran a whole lot of easy miles on the streets. I run with friends when I can. I I just love not being so locked into a plan where if someone reaches out to me, is like, "Hey, do you want to go for a run?" And I'm like, "Oh no, sorry, I have a 10 by 1K workout. I can't do that." Like I like just being able to say yes to opportunities, and like running is for me. It's why like it's a social event. It's what I like to do, and I like to share that with other people. So training was very unstructured, just a lot of miles, and staying healthy was really two big parts of the equation, and seemed to work out all right. So
Yes, I think that that is the crucial aspect, is not getting injured, because we tend
yeah,
to always focus on get this huge mileage and then put on big distances, and then as we get nearer to the races, then we are always like, exhausted, like we're close to
yeah.
breaking down. So I think that's a really good and smart strategy for any of us who are going through this phase. And so let's say you booked, they invited you, and then you headed there a week before. But as you were towing that line, how was that feeling? Were you nervous? Like, what's gonna happen? How were you thinking?
I was yeah. Parts of me were I don't know. I don't really get nervous for races anymore like I used to in high school. I don't know why it's different. Like high school is a 5K, and now I'm getting ready to learn 400K. Like logically I should be more nervous now, but there's so much time. Like I feel like there's so little pressure to go out and really like perform and be on the 100% top of your game. Like if you make one mistake or let off the gas a little bit in a 5K, you're done. But there's so much time to recover and like get back in a good frame of mind and stuff like that in a 400-kilometer race that it's I was just excited to race. Like like I tried to race once in September and ended up DNFing, so I hadn't really raced since Cocodona, and I was just like a ball of energy. Like I was just so excited to race, especially now that I was in a different country in a completely different race format than normal. Like I was just very excited to get out there and race. And was I worried about the self-navigated, self-supported? I mean, absolutely. It was in my mind like maybe this could cause some problems, or at the very least, it's going to cause me to go slower than I would if I was in a crude race, supported race. But I mean, it was all just exciting because it's new. I like to do new, random, exciting adventures. Like that's just kind of my thesis statement of life. So I was just more excited than anything. I was fired up.
I remember that race you just talked about, the anything where you were picking up. I saw the video of it. That looked brutal.
Yeah, I made some mistakes. Sometimes my happy-go-lucky ignorance kind of gets the best of me. So, I mean, I was also in a really bad stomach space during that race. It was a 100-mile race, and I was puking by mile two, and then just continued to puke all the way until mile 30 when I dropped out. But so that was something kind of outside of my control. But then I got caught up at 3,000 meters, more than 3,000 meters, in a rainstorm that turned into a snowstorm that turned into like a rain, hail, snowstorm. And I didn't have a rain jacket or any sort of warm clothes. So that was completely my own fault. Like, yeah, it was just me being stupid. So we learned I'll pack a rain jacket next time. So there's always a lesson somewhere. But it was a tough pill to swallow because I didn't want to DNF. Like I never wanted to DNF, obviously. And my biggest fear was as soon as you do something once, it kind of becomes like an option, like that. The option's always there. And I didn't want that to become a habit or an option going forward. I didn't want to get 70 miles into a race sometime and be like, oh, well, not my day. Let's just drop out. That's not what I want. Like if I line up for a race, I want to send it and really see what I can do. But it seems like between the Iron Man and Gobi, I seem to have beaten the spell. So hopefully I can just have that as a one and done and never DNF again. But I'm sure that's not what's going to happen. There's so many variables that you can't control in these races, and I hope to have a long career in the ultra space. So I think another DNF is inevitable at some point, but I'll push it off as long as possible because it wasn't a good feeling.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a nice feeling, but like you have bounced back. I mean, triathlon is hard to. Ironman is not a joke. Right? We're just talking about it, and it's hard, swimming, biking, and then running a marathon at the end of it. And
Yeah.
going back to Gobi, right? So as you did Cocodona, it's kind of a familiar terrain, right? Because you are in United States. You run through so many places. You probably have been there before running the routes, whatever. And there are
Yeah,
people, like recognizable people. But when you go and run in a desert, right, it's so different because, like we said, the big wind turbine. Like I've seen those two. It's so huge when you are in front of it. It's like
they're
whoa, whoa.
massive.
That is,
Yeah,
yeah. It's so
it's
different.
insane.
So what was going in your head? Because there is nothing else, and it's just a long, quiet road ahead of you.
See, that's always a really tough question for me when people ask like what you think about. Your mind goes to so many different places. Like I think about random. I mean, mostly it's about the run. You kind of recalculate where you're at and what pace you're running when you're going to finish like a million times during these races. I mean, that's always constantly kind of churning. I mean, but just little things, just like looking at the terrain, and I'm sure my brain bounced around to stuff going on at home and whatever else. But like at the end of the day, people ask what I think about, and the answer is everything. But then when it comes down to it, like nothing. Like it's kind of just like a Zen state. It's not like I'm completely brain dead and not thinking about anything. It's just like the brain's bouncing around so many places that like really nothing of substance. I don't like some people will go out and runs and solve their problems, and that's where they go to think. And that's not really me. Like I don't think deeply and critically while I run. I just like to be out there and be free. And I mean, there's definitely times I distinctly remember being frustrated out there because I was maybe going off course or fell into a cactus and scraped my hand up. Like I remember those times. I remember what I was thinking then. It wasn't nice, but most of the time, the other 390K where I wasn't all frustrated. It was just kind of just a flow state. I don't know. I know that's not a great answer, but that's what I got.
I remember that conversation when you say you planted face. It's like hit first, and then you kick the cactus ending the Cocodona. And
Yeah.
there were a few low moments that we talked about. The hallucination was one of it. And was there any of those kind of things when you did the Gobi? Because when you had this low moment, I know your quads blew out so early in the race when you did the Cocodona, but you
Mhm.
were able to finish it top 10 finish at Cocodona. But here, did you have any low moment during the whole race?
Not nothing compared to Cocodona. Like this race, physically, mentally, so much better than Cocodona. I feel like I learned a lot, and I'm really excited to go back to Cocodona because I think I learned a lot about myself, and I think I can do so much better at Cocodona. But Cocodona, yeah, there was lots of low points between my quads that were blown up. I was chafed so bad at Cocodona, and then the sleep, and I don't know, like Cocodona, there was. I just remember being kind of not sad, but just locked in and kind of droopy and for a long time. But in Gobi, I was on top of the world for, I mean, at least the first 200K, give or take. I don't know if that's because I was in the lead or I was just having a good time or I don't know what it was. And then around 200K, I got really sleepy, but I wasn't in a bad headspace. I was just really tired. And I was probably almost as tired as I was the first real spell of sleepiness I had at Cocodona, but I pushed through it way better at Gobi. So I was able to get myself to an aid station, took an hour long nap, and afterwards I was just fired up again. I was right back to as if I had slept a whole day. Like I was on top of the world again. And that felt really incredible just to see like how low I was, and then you take a little nap and then you're just right back to a ball of energy. So that was the first real low, but it was just more tired than a low. My really low point came the third night. So since we started that night, first day, second night is where I slept for an hour, got fired back up again, ran all the way through the rest of that night, ran through the second day, and then going into that third night, somewhere right around midnight, I just got I don't know what it was. I still don't know why I got off course as much as I did because my watch is beeping. It's beeping the whole time. It's like, hey, you're off course. And I don't know if there was physical features out there that were pushing me off course more, but I was off course and then I felt like I was really lost. Like, so maybe I went around something and then couldn't find my way back to course very easily. So I'm lost in the desert in the middle of the night. I'm getting really sleepy again because it's been 24 hours since I took a real sleep. and I only had an hour when I did that sleep. So I'm making bad decisions. I'm really sleep deprived. I'm off course. My watch is just constantly beeping at me, and I'm yelling at my watch. I'm like, I know, watch, like, shut up. But I can't make it shut up because it's actually the only piece of equipment that's keeping me going the right direction. So I needed my watch. And then I was just worried that I had about a 30 20-kilometer lead at that point, something like that. So I had a pretty healthy lead, but I was worried that I was just going to be wandering around, hemorrhaging time, and then these guys are going to pass me, not because of anything physical, just because I went the wrong direction. And like I was just beating myself up mentally. Like, how can you make this mistake? Like, how can you be this dumb? Like, what are we? Get back on course, you idiot! And just a whole bunch of negative headspace talk. And then to top it all off, there were so many fences out there that you had to climb. So there was a fence in that section where I was super lost, and I was climbing it. And as I was climbing it, one of the wires like broke and it dumped me onto the other side. So not only am I lost and tired and freezing cold, now I'm got dumped by a fence and laying down on the dirt, just staring up at the sky, like kind of, yeah, but not a good mental space. So that was definitely the lowest point of the race. And then I finally made it to a major checkpoint, took another nap, got a massage, and things were okay. And I guess everyone kind of slowed down on that section because I didn't really end up losing that much of my lead. But for the hour and a half where I was lost, and the thing that really beat me up was I would go into one of those water checkpoints after finally recovering and getting back on course, and then somehow immediately would be lost again. Like after leaving that checkpoint, I got lost like 3 times in a row. It's so frustrating. So that the self navigation element was definitely a wild card that cost me some time. But I mean, it's a unique format. I liked it. It was something different, but it definitely throws a different wrench. Whereas normally you can just zone out, follow the flags, blah blah blah, blah in a race. Like you can't really let your guard down this time, and it bit me. It showed how important it was.
Yeah, I cannot imagine going through that and then you have to navigate yourself to get back. That's like, oh, that's so tough. But hey, you made
Yeah,
it. Like, so there's
made it.
this is the first time, so there is always so many things to learn, and I'm excited to see how you'll do with Cocodona. And next time you decide to go back to Gobi, then that would be a very good experience. So
Yeah.
when you were running there at Gobi, although it was not as very high mountainous like Cocodona, was there any part of the whole course that made you decide that okay, this is tough, this might be it, this might make it harder for me to do as compared to like Cocodona has so many like humongous mountains. So was there anything in Gobi?
Not specifically. I think it was just the cumulative fatigue, and then really just getting like that, getting off course like that, and then getting in that. I was also in super sandy terrain when I was off course there, so you're running in this just energy sucking sand. It's just soft, and you can't really feel like you're trying so hard, and you're just kind of spinning your wheels. It's really tough to actually make any progress. So, but there was never a moment where I was like, "Wow, like I might not be able to do this." Like it was always just little brief moments of frustration more than like really huge mountains, literal or figurative mountains. The one mountain that we did climb, it was kind of funny. I mean, I was still fresh. If it was at the end, it would be a whole different story, but it was pretty gradual for a while. And then all of a sudden, my watch just told me, like, right hand turn. And I looked to the right, and all it is just super steep scree field. And I'm like, looked around, tried to find a trail. I'm like, okay, I guess we're going over this. And I was on all fours, like climbing my way up this hill. It was only like 500 meters, but I probably gained 200 meters in that time. Like it was super steep. And then coming down the other side, it was the same way. It was so loose. I was like basically just sliding, trying not to rip my clothes to shreds. So that was actually the most exciting part of the whole race because it was just something that was different. But no, I mean most of the race was pretty runnable, and I maybe for better or worse have this false or correct sense of confidence, and I pretty well knew my ability going in, and then during the race like everything felt pretty conservative and pretty safe, so I never felt like I was really burning too many candles too early. And if my shins hadn't completely locked up at the end, I feel like I could have kept moving pretty well the last 30K anyway. So it's a good race.
I mean, next time You gotta go and take it, right? So get that last 20K, 30K, get in and finish it with
Yeah,
running.
that would be ideal because that's something I need to work on really is finishing strong in any race. Like I've never felt like I've finished really strong in any ultra that I've done. So I was hoping I could do that this time. And from a physical and mental perspective, I could have. I just, for some reason, I don't know if it was because of the pack I was wearing, like how heavy it was with all the gear we had to take, or because it was so flat and no variation in the terrain. And I just used my shin muscles a lot, but they just locked up and it was really painful. But without that, I feel like I could have maybe not like negative split, but at least kept running the 11, 12, 13 minute miles that I was running. Instead, I walked at 19-minute miles. So next time.
Injuries are hard, man. It's so tough because I know I had chest fracture and then God, you cannot run because it hurts
No.
and then your whole I think mine was swelling because I didn't know I had seen split or I didn't and I ran on it and
Yeah.
I, like being dumb, right? So thank God
Yeah.
I was
When
able
I
to
was
finish it
done.
with yeah.
Yeah. But my shins were definitely swollen when I was done. And luckily, they recovered pretty well. I took it easy for a week or two. But in the moment, yeah, it was excruciating. And you have those thoughts like, will I ever be able to run again? Like, this is really bad. And then your body is just so good at healing itself that it's fine in a week or so. But in that moment, it just feels so momentous and huge and like you really messed something up. But
Think it's because it was just too flat and if you had to run a lot then that's probably and that's why there was no issue with the Cocodona compared to
yeah, I think it was a combination of how flat and runnable it was and also the like
that.
6, 7 kilogram pack that I had on my back the
Oof.
whole race. Like, so that was just constantly on me balancing, adding, like, it just adds extra fatigue and extra everything to all the muscles, all the joints. So I think just a combination of those two things. I'm just glad it waited until only 20, 30K to the finish instead of, 100K or something like that. That would have been a long walk.
Last time when we talk about Cocodona and about the recovery, you said your legs were swollen. Was that similar to this race when it did?
Were they sore or swollen? Is that what you
Swollen,
said?
yeah.
Yeah. So besides my shins, nothing was really swollen. My shins were swollen, and my feet swelled a little bit, just like Cocodona, but not nearly as bad as Cocodona. I don't know what the difference was, but I was way more physically wrecked after Cocodona. I don't know if it was a combination of just the elevation up and down and like how wrecked my quads were from the beginning, but I also think like the more of these that you do, the more used to it your body gets. Like after my first marathon, I was destroyed, but now a marathon doesn't even really impact me that much. So I think the body is just maybe that first one, Cocodona, since it was my first time doing that distance, it was like, wow, like we need to recover. Like this is bad. And then as like I've only done two now, two 400-kilometer races, but recovery from this one was much smoother. So I think it's just the body's getting used to what I'm giving it, and hopefully after Cocodona next time it's more of the same. It's just maybe a week off and then back to easy running, and then we're right back after it. Hopefully, don't know. We'll see.
What about sleep deprivation? Because last time we talked about when you finish Cocodona, you had this PTSD moment when you just wake up in middle of the night and like, oh, I gotta go run or where am I? So did you feel any of
Yeah.
that?
I didn't have the nightmares like I did at Cocodona. So after Cocodona, yeah, I would wake up in the middle of the night and like think I was at an aid station sleeping and just really dread getting back out there and running. I didn't have any of that this time. I did struggle to sleep afterwards, and I think that's pretty normal. Body temperature regulation was not good, especially since we were like for 4 or 5 days after the race, we were living in these kind of tents. Like they were really nice tents, but we were out in the elements more or less. It was 45 degrees Fahrenheit at night, something like that. So it was fairly cold at night, and just the body wasn't. I didn't recover great from a sleep standpoint. I'd be able to sleep for 2 or 3 hours, then be wide awake, and then I'd be really tired in the middle of the day and take a short little nap. And so that's how it went for a while. It probably took a week and a half, 2 weeks to get back to a normal sleep schedule. Because especially between the race recovery and then also I was in a
Traveling.
completely different time zone than I'm used to. So, and I traveled for about a week afterwards anyway. I went to Japan and then I went to Hawaii and then I came back to the US. So between my body trying to recover from the race in a sleep perspective, and then me just completely changing time zones every couple days, it was not a great combination. So it took like 2 weeks to get like a normal night's sleep again. But eventually we did, and we're fine now. Like I'm sleeping normal now. So, but that's definitely something that happens after even just even 100-mile races. Like I don't sleep well for a couple nights. It's just exasperated a little bit longer whenever it's 400K, because you go through multiple days and you really screw up your sleep schedule. Whereas 100 miles is maybe just one night you're screwing up or something. But
That really makes sense. I have problem even when I finish my marathons. I usually, even if I do the long
yeah,
runs, that I cannot sleep. I don't know if it is ache or
yeah.
something, but that night is always restless. And
Yeah, for me, it's a combination of caffeine too. Like
oh,
especially in 100-mile races, I'm taking a lot of caffeine, and then usually finish 9, 10, 11 p.m. like right when you would go to bed anyway. So I had so much caffeine in my system a lot of times. And at Gobi, I had a lot of caffeine, but I didn't for the whole second half of the race. I didn't really eat anything at all, or I had a little bit of like coffee, like caffeine shots, but I didn't eat but maybe 1,000 calories for the last 150 miles ish. So it was not ideal. So I didn't have any caffeine pumping through me at the finish, but
but
maybe
I
not a
saw
lot of
you
food.
packed a lot of stuff on your drop bags though, because I remember you were saying with the numbers and like $1, $2, $3, and like burgers
Yeah.
and stuff
So
like that.
they were really strict on the calories. They required that you had a minimum of 25,000 calories total. And then every time you left one of those major aid stations, they would check the packages and count and make sure you left with 2,000 calories. If you didn't have 2,000, they would not let you leave. So they were very on it in that sense. But there was a lot of times, especially that second half, where I would take 2,000 calories and I would eat 100 maybe, and all I'd have to do at the next aid station is take the same food that I was carrying in my pack the whole time, take it out, let them count, grab one gel or something out of my bag, my drop box, and like I carried the same 2,000 calories pretty much that entire second half. So yeah, not ideal, but I need to work on eating still. Like I was eating pretty well until yeah, right around the 150 miles ish, and then I took a gel, and like my stomach just flipped, and I kind of gagged, and I'm like, oh, no thanks. And then after that, didn't eat much. I did end up eating some of those burgers at the aid station. So there was one particular that I remember I was on my stomach, and the guy was massaging my hamstrings and my calves, and I'm just sitting there eating a burger. That was pretty funny. But that was nice because it wasn't sugar. Like you get so burnt out on just all the sugar and the artificial carbs and everything. So having that savory kind of different flavor of the burger was nice. But yeah, there's a lot of food that I packed that I didn't touch. Like those vacuum sealed chicken legs that I had. I had a bunch of vacuum sealed eggs. Like I didn't eat any of that. I was a little ambitious, I guess, and I was packing my bags. So I think out of the 25,000 calories I had, I maybe ate 10,000 the whole race, like, at most.
In Cocodona, there was this shapes, right? Michelin is like the food of Cocodona is so famous because you get so many of luxurious and delicious food, and obviously the crew was big part of the race. So, did you miss any of that when you did Gobi?
Yes and no. It was fun doing something different, but yeah, you definitely miss seeing your crew and people that you care about and things like that. And you miss rolling into an aid station, and especially with the language barrier. Like the volunteers were amazing at Gobi, but there's always a little bit of a disconnect when there's only like one or two that really speak good enough English for me to communicate with. The rest of them, you can tell how excited they are and how much they want to help. It just makes it tough when there's that language barrier. So yeah, I did feel pretty alone out there the whole time, especially since I was running alone the whole time. Like from the start line, I didn't see another runner the whole time. Like I saw a headlamp the first night, and then after that, I saw nobody else except for the aid station workers. So I felt very alone, and I'm trying to decide if I like that or not because like I'm pretty comfortable being alone and doing these things alone, but at the end of the day, like we all like having people to share these things with, and we all like having experiences. And I think having a crew like at Cocodona of, especially if it's like friends that are my age who are also like into this sport and really excited to be there, like that's what I'm really excited for about Cocodona is like I'm finally developing enough relationships in the sport where I can ask people to come crew me who I'm excited to have come crew me. I've been leaning a lot on my family, and which has been great. They've been spectacular crewing me, but they don't really have the same love and passion for the sport that I do. And like I'm really excited to get some people my age who have the same passion and fire for the sport that I do to help crew me, and that's kind of the plan for Cocodona. So I liked being alone, but also missed the human experience. And it would have been really nice to have a pacer in that section where I got super lost. That would have been very helpful.
Yeah,
So
that would have been great. Like you didn't have to
that
think;
would
they
have,
would just navigate sometimes, right? So it would be so much
yeah.
nice. And as you look back now to this whole race, right? So you have been about a month into it. What has been your favorite part of the race?
It was by far the relationships formed. Like the race was amazing. I wouldn't change a thing about how I went out, how I ran, how I won. Like that was incredible. But the fact that we got to live with the other competitors before and after the race, and I formed these amazing relationships with people from all over the world. I mean, there was three other U.S. competitors that like, and now I'm friends with. Like I know them, and I intend to go crew them and pace them and see them again. But I mean, from Serbia and South Africa and England and Portugal, all these countries, and just hearing their experiences, all these people have done. They're all older than me. I was the youngest one in the race. They've always done. All these people have done so many incredible like races all over the world, stage races in deserts and massive like the 200s in the US, like Tahoe and Bigfoot and Moab. Like these people have done those, and just to hear about their goals and their experiences and just learn from them. I felt like I was at like a conference, like just learning so much the whole time from all these more experienced people, and then getting out there to race with them and then being able to cheer them on as they came in. Just I feel like they're all friends. Like it was a surreal experience, and it's unlike any other race because most of these races you show up a day before, you get your bib, you go back to your hotel, you line up in the morning, you race, you maybe stay a night after you're done, and then you go back to home, you go back to work, you go back to life. And that was just not the case here. I mean, there was 2 or 3 days beforehand where you really got to form a community, and then you raced, and then 3 or 4 days on the back end where you got to reflect and tell stories and kind of just come back together. And it was incredible. That was my favorite part, was just living with these other competitors and forming these super special relationships. And that's what made the race special, because in and of itself, the course wasn't super compelling. Like it wasn't an incredible like it was a great race, a great location, but it wasn't something I would go back and do specifically for the race. What I would go back for is those connections, those people, the volunteers, like that. The whole experience is was worth so much more than just the 400 kilometers that we traveled.
You just mentioned this up. Coco, not the Cocodona, Bigfoot, Tahoe, Moab, Triple Crown. What are you
Yeah,
thinking?
about doing them.
Yeah,
I mean, they're definitely on the radar. I don't think they're going to fit in the schedule this year or next year, but I want to go at least crew and pace and just get an exposure to them because, I mean, that's one of the things I'm most excited about in this whole running sphere is just this sport allows me to go travel and see some amazing places that most people will never have the ability to see. And that's what I love more than anything is just that and the people and the community around it. So right now I'm still kind of chasing those competitive races to hopefully turn this into a career. Like Gobi was great. It was a fantastic experience, but it didn't really do a lot for me in terms of building a career just because it didn't have that many eyeballs on it. It wasn't that competitive. But I wouldn't change it. Like I loved it. But I think for the next couple of years I need to focus on races I want to do, but are also competitive and important in the eyes of the world. So, but I definitely want to do, especially Moab. Moab's the most intriguing to me, just because it's that's a massive loop in such a rugged area, and I love those loop style races where you start back, like start and finish in the same spot, and but in between you just have such a journey. So I don't know. We're still figuring out. I don't really have my schedule. Definitely not for past 2026 ironed out, but even the whole second half of 2026, I don't really have figured out yet. So, and I like keeping things open a little bit because I can say yes to random races who DM me on Instagram and ask me if I want to go run in the desert in China for 400K. So some of that's kind of appealing too, just seeing what happens.
Yeah, and I think it's also experience too, because once you run in different terrain, and I mean running in sand is not a joke. I mean, maybe that's why your sins are hurting too, because it's not you cannot run fast, and you have to,
No,
because it's your feet are sinking, right, as you take steps. So that's
yeah.
kind of a tougher experience you had. And as you look back now, right, so you did Cocodona 250 and you have Gobi 240. What are the things that this race taught you that Cocodona did not?
I think I learned that I think the lessons were there in Cocodona. I just didn't absorb them. But I learned that I can compete and I belong in the front. That's a big confidence boost. I also learned that physically you're able to run deep in these races. Like it physically, your legs are there. You maybe can't run fast, but you can still move faster than you are moving. And in Cocodona, I think I just kind of succumbed to that just just keep moving, like I'm okay, like I don't need to run kind of mindset. And in Gobi, I really tried to move a little quicker, and there's definitely still room for improvement. There's so many miles that I could have traveled a little faster, pushed a little harder, but I did a lot better job of not walking as much in Gobi, and that was a big lesson. And then, as much as my nutrition sucked, I think I learned some stuff about nutrition and that I prefer solid foods as opposed to the gels and the goos and things like that. And it really comes down to a variety. And what I need to figure out still that I don't know is what to do once my stomach kind of turns and like you don't want to eat at all. Like your stomach just in a really bad spot. Like, but you know you have to eat because you still have 150 miles, 150K, whatever the distance is. Like there's no way you can expect to finish and finish well, finish strong without eating for that long. So I don't know what to do with that yet, but that's at least it taught me that I need to figure something out. Like I need to workshop that. I just don't know the answer yet. But for now, I'll just keep eating peanut M&Ms and Pop Tarts and granola bars, and hopefully, just it takes longer for my stomach to turn. I don't know, but there's always stuff to learn. Like every one of these races, I've learned something, and whether it's that I need to bring a rain jacket in the cold, or you can run a little bit longer than you think you can. Like there's always lessons to be learned.
In that note, too, has you learned something about yourself?
I think I've learned that I'm stronger than I think I am, and like just like anybody else, like this sport shows you that you can do way more than you think you can physically. It's just figuring out how to get your brain to make your legs actually move. But it's still something I'm working on. Like in the grand scheme of things, I still feel like I'm a brand new novice in this sport. Like I've only ran 4 or 5 real ultra races at most. Like there's still so much for me to learn and so much stuff that I'm still piecing together and figuring out. And really the only way to do that effectively is to have these experiences and to fail sometimes, to get caught at 3,000 meters in a snowstorm with no jacket. Like that's the only way I'm going to learn. Because people told me to bring a jacket. Like every race thing says, oh, it's cold up here. Like for some reason, it takes actually being in that situation to get the lesson through. So I just want to keep doing these races and just make like I'm open to the lessons, and I hope that I can keep seeing them as they come because there's always value in doing these, and sometimes there's even more value in failing.
Definitely. I think if you did an effort, if you had a setback, like if you didn't meet your goals, anything, then there is always something that you can improve rather than,
For sure.
I think it's a stepping stone to make yourself better in the future.
Yeah.
And going back to Gobi, right? So as you are limping for 30 kilometers, right? So you cannot run, and then you finish this
Yeah.
line. How was that emotion for you, or that realization that you won?
See, it's tough too because I'm not really a huge emotional person. Like I didn't break down crying and anything like that. Like I was more relieved to be done, so I could sit down and I could try to eat some food. that was more relief. And I think over time, I really processed the win. But even now, like the win, it doesn't really mean that much to me. And I'm not like, I guess that's not fair. Like it means a lot to me. It just like, I don't feel like if I would have been second or third, it probably would have been the same feeling. Like I really just valued the experience so much as opposed to the competitive nature of the race. Like technically, I beat the course record too by like 5 hours. Like that doesn't really, I don't, it doesn't really weigh on me that much. But like just like Cocodona, like when I get towards the end, I was like just kind of thinking like, wow, I just covered so much ground on foot. Like that's kind of insane. And like I just am so I always just think about at the end of these things, like how grateful I am to not only have the physical ability to do these things, like, but also just the desire and the like so many people maybe just don't even have goals or passions and people just go through life without anything they're really, really passionate about. And I think that's what the end of these races really makes you think about is how grateful I am to have this thing that I care so much about. And that I'm also that passion, that fire is also paired with the physical ability and the mental drive to actually accomplish these things. Like it's kind of a I'm so fortunate to have that ability. And I think that's what hits me at the end of these races more than wow, I just won and crushed everybody. Like, sure, like that's cool, but just that gratitude is what I think about more than anything.
Last time when we talked about when you did the Cocodona, you finished eighth at that moment, and here you won. And has the meaning of running changed by the time you finish two races, or is it still the same that you want to be competitive, you want to be like around the top of the pack rather than at the bottom? So has or when you won this, or is it just giving you this peace or sense of peace?
Yeah, I think go like I always want to be competitive. I always want to get the most out of myself, really. But like if I can beat somebody else while I'm getting the most out of myself, that's even better. But I think Gobi really showed me that there's more to running than just competing and beating people. There's such an experience and adventure side of things that like it's always kind of been there. Like I always love like oh I get to go frolic in the woods and climb these mountains like during these races like that's always been a huge draw for me. But being at Gobi and then just really getting to experience it with other people and form those relationships like that it taught me and then getting to experience the whole other culture and fly halfway across the world to go do this thing that I love like it showed me that maybe it's not all about competition. It's about just stacking amazing experiences of life. Like you don't know how long life's going to be, and you don't know how many more days or races or anything that we have. So I think it taught me that running is it's more than just competing. It's about experiences and adventure and just living life to its fullest. So now I get to do both. I get to have these amazing experiences with amazing people and amazing places, and then on top of that, hopefully compete against myself and other people. And I don't know, like I'm sure that perspective will change as I go on and as I learn more about the sport and run more. And but for now, it's just yeah, gratitude to be in the sport and to get to compete and to get to be in these amazing places. And yeah,
And as you think about it, right? So we were talking about it already around. So if you had this opportunity, like you went did Cocodona and then you went all the way across to China to do this Gobi 250. So are there any other races that have been keeping your eye on? I know you have Cocodona next year, but other than that, are there any other things?
there's too many, and that's kind of what I don't want to pack too much into too tight of a time period because then I run the risk of getting injured. But there's so many cool races that I want to do, and I just as I keep, and I'm sure there's another 100 that I don't even know about that are just like Gobi. Like I had never heard of Gobi, but I'm sure there's so many more like that that I don't even know exist that are worth doing. Um, but being there with people, especially from like South Africa, they got me on this Ultra Trail Cape Town kind of rip right now. That one's pretty intriguing to me. But then there's so many in Europe, especially those are the ones that I know about because those are the mainstream ones. But like Tour de Jean, like UTMB, there's so many cool. Like I've learned about different race formats. There's like race formats where you run with a partner and you do this whole thing like Like that's intriguing to me. If I can convince someone else stupid enough to go do this thing with me, like that sounds fun. And then doing some of the ones in the US that I haven't done, like, and there's so many, and there's just an excuse to go travel and see other places. Like I've never been to South America. Like I would love to go do a cool race, maybe in Patagonia, Argentina, Chile, do a cool race there, and all these cool races on islands like Madeira and New Zealand, and like there's I get overwhelmed when I think about all the different races that I want to do, and you're planning out like 8 years in the future all these races you want to do, and then by then you'll add another 1,000 races. So then I'm planning out to 2054 or something, and I don't know. For now, I'm just going to take it one year at a time and prioritize like cool, awesome races, but I'm also trying to weave in some races that maybe have some prize money to help offset some of the cost of. It's not a cheap sport, especially when you're traveling internationally to go race. But at the end of the day, like this is the only thing I really spend money on, and that's what I care about. So I'm okay with that.
Yes, definitely. Everybody says running is the cheapest sport, the only new shoes. But yeah, get into it more than it
That's
becomes so expensive.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, if you just want to run outside by yourself, yeah, it's pretty cheap. But you start doing these things. That's what Ironman taught me too. Like the Ironman, that was so expensive. Like especially because I didn't have all the gear. And it's a much more gear intensive sport. Like a bike and my wetsuit, and then paying for a bike trainer, and like it's you gotta like it because it's expensive.
It is. I mean, these are all crazier things that we want to do. So,
Yeah.
and and now as you look back at this Gobi race, so and before you started, you probably didn't know anything, and then now as you have finished and you have conquered it, then you know a lot of things about it. So, if you had this opportunity to go back pre-race and talk to you, what would be that advice that would give it to yourself?
Oh man, that's tough. I mean, from a practical standpoint, pack different nutrition. Maybe not vacuum seal chicken legs and eggs and things like that. But I mean, really, I don't know. Like I took a leap of faith going to this thing. I didn't really know much going into it, and I think that was kind of a good thing. Like I don't think over researching it and being like I was prepared enough, but not over prepared. I think it was kind of perfect. Like I there's not a whole lot about Gobi I would change. I mean, mistakes and being lost in the desert included. Like it was just such an amazing experience, and I really hope I can fit it in the schedule again for at some point because it was unreal. I loved it. Yeah, I know that's not a great answer, but no, nothing really to change. Lessons learned for sure, but I wouldn't change it because I had to do those mistakes to learn the lessons. So,
And if you had to describe your win in 3 words, how would you describe the end?
hmm, um, obviously gratitude, grateful for the win. I was maybe destroyed physically, mentally. Gratitude, destroyed, and really just I don't want to say happy, but like satisfied, content, just in such a state of such contentment and satisfaction. I just yeah, just because I wouldn't change it. Like it was perfect race, destroyed, contentment, and then whatever my first one was.
I
I
even
don't know. I
forgot
forgot
what
already.
your first one was.
Whatever those were.
Yeah, I
Gratitude. That's what
forgot.
it was.
Yeah, gratitude.
Gratitude.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, gratitude, content, and
That's
destroyed.
funny. That's funny.
Yeah,
Yes, that's funny.
yeah. Also, like you because you kept describing the second one, and I was like, okay, yeah, that
Yeah.
is yeah, that is it. I just kept focus on that. Okay, and this is the last question for the podcast. So I would like you to finish this sentence. Endurance is
Endurance is within us all. Just a little tough to access sometimes,
it is
but it's
true.
in there.
Yes, you just gotta reach it, reach deep down and drag it
Yep.
in.
Yep.
I mean, yeah, thank you. This has been awesome, and I've seen you
Yes,
from
Nash.
Cocodona, and then now you have obviously won, and I'm excited to see what you'll do in Cocodona because I'll be keeping my eye on it, and it's few months out, right? 6 months, so that will
Yeah,
be an
about
awesome
six
race.
months. Yeah,
Yeah. So yeah, thank you so much for your time, and I
yeah,
really appreciate you waking up so early in the US and then talking to me.
yeah. Thanks, Ash. Yeah, it's been a blast, and I hope to talk to you again after Cocodona, maybe.
Yes, yes, I think that's gonna be an awesome to see
Yeah,
whatever you do here, and then just take it and then how you. And I hope there is no quad issues on that one. Then the result will be so much different.
yeah, it'll be so much different. So I'm excited.
Yeah, me too. Okay, thank you, and then see you next time.
Thanks. Thanks, Ash. Bye.
Yeah, bye.
Hey everyone, thank you for making it to the end of the podcast. I hope you really enjoyed this conversation. I'll see you again next time with another guest. Until then, happy running.